Alberttt plays very safe. Probably not going to give a lot of opportunities to Chapinu as well. So I feel like it's going to be kind of a roam matchup situation where the Grok and the Kufra will be meeting each other a lot. So they're going to try to bait out the abilities. So I feel like Alberttt will still be fine. That's just my preliminary thinking before we go into the game.
Yep, I'm looking forward to see how this draft works as well, considering that there is going to be heavy emphasis on Changmu to actually deal with the Alberttt Ling in this regard. So catching a flying object is going to be very, very difficult, especially up on this Kufra. But if you do get the big catch, it is going to be very, very huge. But as of yet, the draft has been pretty much set. RRQ taking first game. Will they pummel through with a 2-0 as of yet? Or will Omega come back in towards game number 2? So far, adaptations has been made. And guess what? No Franco this time means there is going to be more opportunities for Omega to make a statement. But as of yet, this is going to be game number 2 between Omega as well as RRQ HOSHI.
Now, with the compositions that they have set in stone here for both teams, they do have a lot of layers to it, right? Because we have RRQ HOSHI on one hand with really extreme crowd control, but on the other hand, they have Kufra as well. So in terms of composition, Fel, who do you prefer more?
Looking at the composition, I would say, again, RRQ, honestly, just because the way that they have to play this game is a little bit easier compared to Omega, because they have to do a lot of mechanical outplays to get anything happen in the game, because like Kufra has to make sure that he gets on the correct target, and the same thing can be said about Raizen. He has to go in, he has to survive, and he has to give enough space for Ethermax to deal out the damage. And right now, in a fight earlier stages of the game, but so far, yeah, I feel like RRQ HOSHI, they have a more sturdier draft.
I definitely agree, but R7 now, he is going to be going on a matchup against Paquito. Do you think this is a good matchup? Because I feel like Masha is going to completely dominate this lane unless Renzio is going to be able to do so much. I feel like the Paquito force coming in from Omega was just intentionally just targeted on towards Alberttt. And we talked about how his Link is just a force to begin with, and I feel like Omega, they're just focusing on Alberttt a little bit too much on the drafts, but hopefully it is going to work out. But now, Chakra with the engagements onto his Vynn, is there going to be any sort of follow-up coming from Omega? Seems like they are not going to continue as Alberttt just hit his 4 just right in their faces. They do not want to overcommit to this stage.
I mean, in the early game, I feel like in that mid side, RRQ HOSHI is a bit on the behind. Just saying, because that's a Cillian, he needs a little bit more items. He needs a little bit more scaling potential to be able to deal out the damage that is required of him. Meanwhile, Eve can just slow and use her utility from the get-go, especially when she hits level 4. So with that in mind, hopefully Omega can actually use that to their advantage and capitalize over this fact. But for the moment, it is going to be that turtle already being placed into the Land of Dawn, and we'll see who gets there first.
Yep, the first turtle is going to be up for grabs. You can see there has been set up coming from RRQ HOSHI as well. Vynn a little bit afraid to do so as well. Raizen does have the kill potential to do and punish, but it seems like there is going to be a split fight on towards the purple buff as well. Alberttt still trying to secure his purple buff, but looks like he is going to lose out on the Retribution War, and Raizen will come on top. Now, opportunity has been presented itself as well. Alberttt popping Tempest Blade. He does not have the immunity, and this is Omega's time to shine as they finally pop the Revolution, catches off Clayyy, and now R7 is in a very, very awkward situation. Renzio is trying to ego challenge his fight, eventually waits for Raizen to save the day as Raizen completely snowballs them all out. So this is the opportunity that Omega has been looking forward to.
Double kill for the side of Omega, now leading with a 1,000 gold lead, and that is it. That's exactly what we need to see, right? Give Chaknu a hero that he can use to find those types of momentums in the game, and they will definitely deliver. So now, from the side of RRQ HOSHI, how are they going to maneuver around this, understanding that the Ling is going to have a difficult time and may be able to be inhibited by the movements from Chakmamba himself?
Well, again, looking at the draft, they have multiple win conditions, not just on the Ling, but Clayyy as well as Skylar. They can dish out a lot of damage, and they can dish it out from a long range. So as long as the Grok Vynn over here can make sure that he can control Omega's rotation, giving enough information for Clayyy and Skylar to actually do their farm in an optimal way, they can eventually scale up and be a problem for the side of Omega, because they want to go in 1, 2, 3. 3 members of the side of Omega will dash straight into RRQ HOSHI, probably trying to catch Clayyy off guard. But as long as Clayyy survives, they should be good.
I definitely agree, but as of yet, RRQ HOSHI, they have to play this a little bit safe. They cannot give too much of a lead towards Raizen, and I've talked about this earlier as well. The Karina excels at being snowbally, and somehow playing safe right now does not help Omega as well. It's pretty counterproductive, especially that Raizen has been given a 2-kill lead as of yet.
Looking at this game, Raizen, the way that he's playing, I feel like it's fine. I feel like it is okay. I think that they're just trying to see what RRQ HOSHI, like the way that they want to respond, because Omega, they started off being very aggressive. But how aggressive is aggressive? I want them to pick it up a little bit as well, but I want them to focus on one lane, get 2 turrets, and then they can properly set up a map control situation, making sure that Clayyy and Skylar will have a difficult time to actually position themselves.
Agreed. Smart plays coming from RRQ as well, not contesting the second turtle, knowing that this does not worth it. They have to play a little bit more on their next level spike, which is probably by the third turtle phase, which is about 100 seconds before the RRQ decides to force the issue. Alberttt now has been safe farming very, very safely throughout this entire fight, but when he comes out for the third turtle fight, I'm pretty sure things are going to be in his favor. But Omega, looks like they are going to try and greed things out to try and take an objective up top before heading down bottom.
We'll see what happens here. It does seem like Omega wants to push for this, and there doesn't seem to be any answers coming in from RRQ HOSHI. I do understand that they need to be a little bit more patient because they're waiting for those power spikes to show, especially that they do have the Sicilian. But how patient do they have to be? Because they're basically conceding all these objectives on the board just so easily onto Omega, right? 1 turtle, 2 turtles have actually already been taken by the side of Omega, 1 turret to their name as well. And what can RRQ HOSHI do? Because sure, give them the objective in those neutral objectives like the turtle, but look for some compensations on the board. If Omega wants to rotate, look for some mirror movements. I think that's something that they need to do. They want to avoid fights, but they're losing a little bit too much in the process.
Pay attention to the mini-map right now. As you can see, Chakno is so far back. He's trying to find a setup to go in for the engagements as well in case RRQ HOSHI decides to back off. And seems like Omega, they want to try and force a fight right now before it happens, but Chakno, look at this. He's going for the revenge. He does catch onto his Clayyy, and here comes the setup. Alberttt was too busy with the purple buff, cannot do anything at all, and that's going to be Omega going for the perfect catch. Chakno, what an amazing game sense coming in.
6 minutes in, already 3-0. So once again, Omega really showing their dominance here in game number 2. This is a huge difference to game number 1. And why has this happened here, Lafel?
Yeah, this is why I say for the side of Omega, what they're trying to do is actually get 2 turrets first, making sure that they have the map control and try to get onto Clayyy. And that is what is happening right now, especially since Clayyy is using the Spirit, not a Purify. So once Purify gets on top of him, there's not really anything that he can do. For the side of RRQ HOSHI, I kind of feel like they should try to take an opportunity to outplay mechanically wise, because again, these players are super talented. I feel like if they force a fight, they could potentially do something with it. I don't know, that's just me.
I definitely agree, but RRQ HOSHI, they've tried to wait for the moment before the third turtle coming. They needed Alberttt on that purple buff before reading the setup, for the setup as well, and Omega was able to actually catch them off guard, and that was so smart, especially coming from Chakno from the back lines, because I wouldn't expect a flying Kufra from all the way back, and they are pretty much in a blind spot as well, because if you play a mobile phone on the screen, there is no way in heck that Clayyy is going to be able to spot that out because of that blind spot, which is on the bottom left on the screen.
And right now the real one vision has been set up, and R7 is going straight on to E2max. E2max taking a lot of damage. Vynn is being chunked down as well, and look at Kelra. Kelra going straight for Skylar. So far, no kills have been had. Only E2max has been taken down, but for the side of RRQ HOSHI, they're still healthy, but they're not really trying to get any more out of this fight. They still just want to farm.
Omega is playing it so disciplined as well. They're not giving any like cracks for RRQ HOSHI to actually capitalize on. They're being very objective, they're being very disciplined. As now we're going to take a little peek into the players' gold, we see that 3 members from the side of Omega Esports are going to be dominating in that area, with Raizen now at the top of that leaderboard. So this Karina, like you mentioned before, ICBaby has actually snowballed from that early game, but what I'm surprised is Renzio is actually top on that damage dealt.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like this snowball coming from Omega is good, but I feel like it's not hot enough yet, and RRQ, they are still mirror matching up, because if you compare the levels between both Alberttt as well as Raizen, Raizen's level 12, Alberttt is also level 11. It's not that far behind, so it's still a very doable situation. It's all about buying for the time, but as of yet, RRQ, they're going to make an attempt here down bottom. Renzio's all by himself, but this is an annoying Paquito. Meanwhile, mid-late, however, Skylar is going to take a little bit too much damage, but it seems like like Omega will not press the issue. So that is going to be a failed attempt coming from Omega to get a little bit more out of this situation.
But look at those minions really pushing it in that top side. And another turret has been secured for the side of Omega. So more space, more objectives on the board, and more of that gold lead as now they are turning their focus into this next
Oh no,
war.
Alberttt! Alberttt, what are you thinking? He's going for a Tempest Blade. He's down to 1 HP. He tried to go for the steal. Unfortunately, doesn't have enough to take. Look at him. He's going to make a run for it as well. But seems like the rest of the team coming from Omega will just completely say, Alberttt is not here. Let's just kill whoever is in front of us. And they will take R7 with him. Omega continue to snowball with this lead as of yet.
I feel like RRQ HOSHI, this is a rare thing to say, but maybe they're playing it a little bit too slow because looking at what happened just now, 2 members for the side of RRQ HOSHI, including Alberttt, went and tried to fight against Renzio, and Renzio had no issues at all. He only has 2 defensive items over here, and it looks like Alberttt does not have enough damage, probably because he's focusing on a crit build. So once he has full crit rate, then he can really dish out a lot of damage. But again, RRQ HOSHI, based on the itemization that they have, they're really slowing down the game. But I do want to see Clayyy. I hope in this, even in installing the game out, he's getting a lot of stacks because we really need Clayyy to step up right now to make sure that Omega does not end the game.
Oh, Renzio, he's going to get caught off. This is going to make the opportunity that RRQ HOSHI has been eyeing for, but the Lord is still knocking on the top side. Real Moonlight comes in. Kelra does have the crossbow tanks. R7 is going to be able to back out. Vynn looking to re-engage. The post coming from Clayyy is going to be able to clean out the minions here. Chaknu losing a little bit too much damage. Alberttt finally shows himself, but he just doesn't have enough damage to do anything. They're just so very tanky coming from Omega.
Yeah, and RRQ HOSHI, they're so far behind. I mean, now with that previous 4,000 gold lead is actually reached and crept up to that extra 2,000. So they only got 1 in that sense. Renzio was taken down, and Omega, of course, was forced to back off. But Chaknu here seems like he's waiting for that right opportunity once again here, as maybe this might be one of the last moments here from the side of RRQ HOSHI.
Yep, it's going to be very difficult to do so, but you can see RRQ is still playing it very safe. Finally, they are going to be making a play as well. As you can see, Alberttt is trying his best to stall the game as long as they can to try and go in for the split push. But in terms of objective, pay attention to Omega's towers. None of the turrets on their side are still even chipped up as well. It's relatively healthy, especially for tier 1. So there's just so much map control coming from Omega. And who could blame RRQ that they're being oppressed right now? And I feel I really like that they're still trying to make some sort of play. And it's going to be a lot of emphasis on Alberttt, whether or not can he capitalize on the economy across the maps.
And right now, actually, just a small fun fact thingy, right? Chaknu and E2max both have a 100% kill participation as of right now because all 4 kills they are involved in. And looking at the gold difference, we see it reflected on the items over here, especially on the 1-1. Already have the Demon Under Sword, Corrosion Scythe, even the Wind of Nature. So even if Alberttt tries to aim for the 1-1, it's not going to be fruitful. So whenever they do decide to go for a team fight, they have to have this mental note that Kelra has a Wind of Nature. So don't try to kill him off first. Perhaps try to go for the E2max, but with how E2max is positioning himself, it looks like he will get them before they can actually go towards Kelra or E2max.
Oh, this might be the go-to plan as well. Albertt's about to hit the 15. With the Truncate up on Clayyy means they can try and prolong this fight. However, Kelra, he will be able to pop the crossbow tanks. R7 is forced to run for his life. Here comes the crossbow tanks, and R7 might actually fall right here, and that is going to be it. RRQ HOSHI a little bit afraid to do so, but Kelra is going to be so far away from the rest of the team as he gets bound up, and that is going to be a well worth it trade. A marksman for an XP laner, but can they get a little bit more? However, Omega, they've reset the Lord. They could not get those objectives, so this is a small window of an opportunity for RRQ to come back because of that play.
Yeah, huge play there coming in and a little bit too overcommitted from the side of Kelra. Sure, you get a pick on the board, but losing yourself in the process was not a good trade. And now it does seem like Omega, they still want to continue with the process of oppression, but unfortunately, with the way that RRQ HOSHI now starting to reach their power spikes, I'm actually quite interested to see how far of itemization Clayyy has actually gone into as Alberttt goes in very aggressively here.
No, it looks like they are going to force the play as well. Kelra just got back from the base. He needs to run all the way back here to back up Omega. RRQ They are thinking about going for the fights as well. The ball bearers do isolate the fight, but they are a little bit afraid because of how low Albert's HP is, and he doesn't even have the purple buff. Seems like it's playing it safe once again coming from RRQ HOSHI and Omega. They understand this. They are going to try and force the Lord here. Vynn trying to reset the Lord. Unfortunately, not going to happen with the Guardian's barrier as of yet. But the Lord down to his 10% threshold. Where is Alberttt? They need him on the sides, but no, he got stopped at the track on the sides as well, and he almost pays the price as Omega was ready to stop him in his track for his cheeky play. Alberttt going for the recall. Renzio a little bit too close, but RRQ, they will lose Vynn, but also the Lord trade.
Right now, looking at how RRQ is proceeding, I feel like part of the problem is Omega right now knows how Alberttt moves around the map, and that is why we can see some of his rotations are actually getting disturbed. Now, I feel like RRQ HOSHI, they have more or less an idea, and the way that they want to play this team fight is actually to capitalize on how Omega thinks, especially looking at what Kelra did just now. If they can force overextensions coming from the side of Omega, because again, I did state it out, they have 3 members that want to go in, 3 melee heroes that want to get close up in person with RRQ HOSHI, but Kelra, if he keeps playing on like that, then they can eventually capitalize on those mistakes. But right now, 7,000 gold lead, and the Lord is marching up. Omega, this is their game to lose.
Uh-oh, R7, he almost got the proc with the crossbow tanks. Omega can't seem to abuse it as well, but RRQ HOSHI, they're holding on with the inhibitor, trying to chip away at the Lord and try and stall this as much as they can. And that was a very, very quick lockdown, clear down onwards the Lord as of yet. But RRQ HOSHI, they're still trying their best, trying to conceal from the sides. He wants to go in for the catch, but it is still 2 very, very tanky heroes, so playing it safe. Omega, they don't want to force more as well. Renzio trying to bait out wall charge. Vynn is going to be able to do that, but they are still focusing on the inhibitors coming from Omega, chipping away very, very slowly at all the objectives as of yet, as RRQ doesn't want to force the fight yet, just because Skylar has not hit 15 yet.
The problem is now only one member from the side of RRQ HOSHI has used that ultimate, so they might want to be able to wait for that because all those resources were actually baited, and now Omega looks like they're going in.
Yep, this is it. Skylar, he will be forcing a flicker as well. Vynn is going to be first to fall. R7 trying to make a little bit more as well. Kelra forcing crossbow attacks. They need to back out. They have nothing as well. And this is going to be RQ trying to force a fight. But R7 taking a little bit too much damage. Alberttt shows with the Temples of Blade. Can they get the kill? No, they cannot. Raizen with the trunk and clutch is going to completely negate all this damage. And RRQ HOSHI, they will lose 4. And it's only up to Clayyy, and Omega will come up on top just like that, as they will close out game number 2 potentially, as Clayyy, the last man standing, not going to be able to do too much, as Omega bounce back and tie the series against RRQ HOSHI.
The defending champions take it to a 1-2-1.